We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. We're coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. We back.
Yeah, we back. Back-to-back years. Griftees right here, 2021. The often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest award show on earth, the Griftees.
Did you miss us? I love being back. I love being in this role. Ladies and gentlemen, Griftees is coming soon. Subscribe, like, share. I'm coming at you soon. What's up, people? Hotep Jesus, we back. Oh, sorry. Damn. Oh, I forgot to upload new sounds to the soundboard. It's all good. I'll get those in there before the next stream. I thought I did that. I downloaded them. I don't think I put them in the board. But anyway, I am
that Hotep Jesus, that Hotep Jesus dude.
What's up, people, man? How y'all feeling? How's everybody doing? Shout out to the chat. What y'all talking about? Me playing a joint on loop? Alright, let's just get right into this thing here. Oh, let's see. First of all, let's just start off real quick. Let's just put Mateo in timeout for being a troll. Mateo, relax, bro. Get a life. Oh, let's see here. All right, so you know how we do. We're going to pull up the trending topics, go through the trending topics in a couple of minutes, give people some time to get in here, and then we're going to dive into today's conversation. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get this up on your screen. I have an extensive presentation for you today. How to do a lot of research to catch up on the goings-ons of the goings-ons. And looks like a lot has been going on. What is this? Do I need this tab open? Nah, I don't. Actually, I do, because you guys are in this tab. Okay. So let's go here. Let's go there. Boom. Guys, see that? Let's adjust it a little bit. I want you guys to see exactly what I see as I'm seeing it. Please share this out. If you share it out and put a nice little caption on it, I'll retweet you, as you already know. All right, let's get into it. Trending topics: Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is hitting the road. Distraction. National Compliment Day. Distraction. My high school was weird. Distraction. Make sure you homeschool your kids. HotepNation.com/donate. We got a bunch of new donors. Appreciate everybody donating to our homeschool initiative. Money motivation. I wrote an email this morning about motivation. If you guys are not on my email list, maybe it's time to change that. You can go to my website, or you go to briansharp.co/sub, or you go to my website, get on my email list. I send a mail around every day to help you navigate this wild world we live in here. And I talked about motivation this morning and how it's pretty much elusive and pointless. Big Hero 6, distraction. Eastern Europe is trending. We're going to get into that. That's our topic of conversation. Whoopi Goldberg. What is she talking about? Let's see Whoopi's
who are, speaking out like this. And over the weekend, Bill Maher made a case for people who are vaccinated, boosted, and have been following the rules since all of this started. Take a look.
I don't want to live in your paranoid world anymore, your masked paranoid world. You go out, it's silly now. You have to have your mask, you have to have a card.
Wait, wasn't Bill Maher on the other side of this before? I'm pretty sure he was like making fun of us for not being triple jabbed up and not wearing masks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I could be wrong.
The booster, they scan your head. Like you're a cashier and I'm a bunch of bananas. I'm not bananas, you are.
That's not really funny to people who have lost.
So, what the Democrat liberals love to do is they love to get women to fight their wars. They're a bunch of punks. And this is like really anti-feminism. Like I always tell people, I'm a true feminist and I believe in protecting women. And putting them back in their rightful place within society. And this is not it right here. But the Democrats always send women out, especially black women out, to handle their battles. I find it to be disgusting and egregious. Let's see what she has to say.
their kids to this vaccine, or people who've lost family members or dear friends to this. It's just, listen, nobody on the planet really wants to go through this. This is not something we're doing because it's, sexually gratifying. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to... Then stay out of the public, man. This is not, nobody wants this. I don't want it. And I think he's forgetting that people are still at risk who cannot get vaccinated. People who can't get that. Little kids under the age of 5. Yeah. Or people with health conditions.
Yo, Jelani just asked if I need web developers. Actually, no. I'm good on that right now. I do need a graphic design artist, though. Desperately.
How dare you be so flippant, man?
There's still people they're over it, like a relationship. I'm over it. I don't feel like seeing him anymore.
To the post-mask part, because I think there's a prudence we've learned with the mask, the hand sanitizing, that kind of like 9/11 with flying is always going to be here now. There's a new normal. In the beginning, when at post 9/11, people didn't want to fly, and the security measures felt like, how do we do this? And now it's
how we get to 9/11.
The norm. I think some of the things we've learned in this pandemic are going to stay the same. I may never ride a subway again without a mask. I may never go indoors to big crowds and never feel comfortable without a mask, and that's up to me to do that.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's what's going on in the world. Anyway, moving on. Hashtag done with COVID is trending. We've been done with it here. Shout out to Cassius Cam. He said motivation is cap. Never there when you need it. Drive is though. Discipline is freedom. Absolutely. Discipline is where it's at. Opinionated Junkie, he said Whoopi needs to hit the gym. She gained weight. Sarah Palin apparently tested positive for the bug. Best wishes to her and a speedy recovery. Oh, Matrix movies. Distraction. Eric Clapton, who has rallied against COVID-19 measures, discussed a discredited theory that people are receiving subliminally in videos. I think he's right. There's been a lot of subliminal messaging surrounding the boxing jab. Let's see here. Embrace controversial theory. I want to see his exact quote. I thought, what's going on here? I get the memo, whatever the memo was. It hadn't reached me yet. Clapton told YouTube channel creator, a real music observer, about why he decided to team up with his old friend and fellow lockdown opponent Van Morrison for the anti-lockdown screed. Clapton told the YouTube channel's host that he then realized that he had, in fact, gotten a memo, all suffering mass psychosis. My career almost gone away at the point where I spoke up. It had almost been 18 months since I had kind of been forcibly retired. And I joined forces with a van, got the tip. All right, who cares? I'm bored already. You see how fast my attention span goes. So shout out to Eric Clapton for exposing this. Burkina Faso president overthrown. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to check that out. Who's John Kirby? Oh, this is in regards to Pentagon spokesman speaking about Ukraine. Topic today. Denzel Curry is a new single out. Congratulations. Distraction. Eli Apple. Distraction. Julia Fox and Kanye West can't stop matching outfits at Paris Fashion Week. Oh boy. Shout out to Kanye. Bow Wow. Congratulations. You've made it to the trending topics list. Apex Legends, distractions. Bailey, it's Aunt Bailey. Aunt Bailey dropped 44 points yesterday. Shout out to Aunt Bailey, one of our beloved leaders over at menoforder.com. Neil Diamond, Don Jr. comments on President Trump. What's this video? Is there a video? Don Jr. posts strange rant against Biden.
In the same room as someone, he might let one rip. Guys, Joe Biden is what stands between us and a nuclear-capable China. Joe Biden is the guy they're going to call at 3 in the morning if There's a serious crisis.
So Don Jr. apparently has upset liberals again. Distraction. Distraction. Juan Ponce de Leon. Unknown people toppled the statue of a Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon in the pre-dawn hours Monday. So another statue has been taken down. Again, the liberals trying to erase history. Kiev is trending, and we're going to talk about all this. All right, let's get into our topic today. We got a lot to cover, and I want to get through this as fast as possible. And it's just so much because we're talking about a historical precedent. I mean, where do I even start? All right, let's start here. Put this on your screen. So, Hotep Nation is dedicated to homeschooling America. Please donate. We have now reached, 40 donors. 2,800 raised so far. This number just keeps going up. Can't wait to really get moving and show you guys what we do with these funds. I think beautiful things are on the horizon here thanks to all of your help. All right. We've paid the bills. You guys have gone to metavorder.com. You've been to hotepnation.com. You've been to my website, hotepjesus.com. And now we get into our feature presentation, which is going to begin with a Fox News article. Let's begin with the Fox News article because I got some crazy shit to show y'all. Crazy to some, probably normal to others. Damning to the left's narrative. When was this? Okay, no, not that one. Not this one. I mean, I've got so many articles to show you. It's just like, here we go. All right, so we'll do this one first, and then we'll dive into some really good literature. So, boom, first we're going to put this on your screen. Let's see. Can you see that? Awesome. I might have to just shrink it a bit more. Let's do this. Let's open that up. Cool. All right. So it says here, Russia-Ukraine conflict puts Biden administration's weakness on full display. This is Fox News. Michael Pompeo wrote this. He said a competent administration's efforts to deter a Russian invasion of Ukraine would have started a long time ago. So it says here, from negotiating with the malign Iranian regime, while they have threatened former President Trump or allowing Taliban to sweep through Afghanistan and directly empower American lives, or refusing to hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for its central role in the origins of the bug, or for its aggression towards Taiwan. And the Biden administration's record after 1 year in office is marked by abject weakness, but his weakness has been unmatched in attempting to deter. For months now, Putin has massed forces on the Ukrainian border. Last month, Kremlin unveiled 2 draft agreements that essentially acted as ultimatums for NATO and the Biden administration. Of course, this is nice. All right, so it says here, for the United States and NATO to guarantee that NATO would not expand further east, that the United States would withdraw its nuclear missiles from Europe, and that no NATO country would cooperate militarily with former Soviet countries. In effect, Vladimir Putin wants to reestablish Russian dominance over Eastern Europe by recapturing old Soviet bloc countries. So I want to just... So he says here, demands that they would not expand further west, and we're going to... So just to let y'all know, I hadn't read this article. I'm reading it just now, and based upon my research, so far I'm not liking this Fox News article at all. Seems like some terrible propaganda. And these list of demands you'll see later are not actually list of demands. These are actually requests for NATO to keep its promise, which it has broken twice already. And we'll dive into some of that stuff later. Of course, this will be disastrous for Europe and American national security. President Biden made no efforts or concessions in exchange for these demands. He included no guarantees of withdrawal of mass Russian troops in the Donbass region of Ukraine, and proposed no plan. All he promised was all right. So basically, this Fox News article wants Biden to be hard on Russia. That's essentially what it's saying. This is just neocon war hawk propaganda. Hotep Lord Shamik Shabazz said, what kind of interns do you look at to bring in the Hotep Nation? Also, do you take mentees? And if so, what is the cost? Yes, we do have mentees, a mentor program, which will be released soon. That will be released through menoforder.com. So look out for that. Menoforder.com will be mentoring young men. So look out for that. Menoforder.com. As far as interns, we're looking for somebody right now who can be a graphic design artist, and then volunteers on the ground for our homeschooling program. Markel, thank you. He said, yo, did you see Richard Grove on Dad's podcast? Would love to see you and him sit down and discourse. Would be a great meeting of minds. Now, I haven't had a chance to check that out, but upon your recommendation, maybe I will. All right. So the first thing we have to do in order to understand this conflict, the first thing, well, not the first thing I did, well, one of the things I did was I said I need a timeline of Ukraine's history because I'm vaguely familiar with it. So we're going to go through this timeline so you guys understand how we got here, right? I think that's very important to understand how we got here in the first place. So let me pop this up on your screen. Can you guys see that? Okay, wonderful. So hold on, I got to organize my screens. I never do this right. So I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put you guys over here. And then let me get my little notepad and pop my notepad over here. And what's this? Oh, that's my other source. Okay. Sweet James Hotep, don't forget your Amadeus. Yes, you're right. Where's my Amadeus? Thank you for the reminder. Boom. Boom. This is my shut up. Damn ads. Cool. All right, here we go. Okay. Oh, good news is I'm getting a lot better at chess. I've been studying a lot. Tata Steel tournament is happening right now. Today is their rest day. They'll be back tomorrow. Looks like Magnus is in the lead. But I've been doing a lot of studying. But anyway, let's continue. So this is a timeline created by, hold on, let me just make sure I can see this and see you at the same time. Let me make this smaller. Okay, cool. So, okay. So this is the founding of Kiev Rus, right? So let's just, I think we should just look this up. I meant to do this earlier. Kiev Rus or Kievian Rus was a loose federation of East Slavic, Baltic, and Finnic peoples in Eastern and Northern Europe, right? So I guess is the beginning of the Russian Empire, right? The inception of, right? So I'm not going to read all of this. So that's 9th century, 10th century. There's a Vladimir or Voldemir. Prince Vladimir comes into power, and they implement Christianity. Christianity becomes really big, and if you know anything about the Russian royal family, Tsar Nicholas and such, they were a very religious family. So Christianity is growing, and they established that. 1237 to 40, the Mongols, aka the Tatars, invade. 1349, Poland and later Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth gradually annexed most of what is now Western and Northern Ukraine. So this is Lithuanian and Polish that now own what is today called Ukraine. Then the Crimean Khanate breaks free of the Golden Horde and conquers most of southern Ukraine. So it's just like a lot of like annexing and switching of powers. Cossack uprising against Polish rule establishes the hetmanate. regarded in Ukraine as the forerunner of the modern independent state. So this is the beginning of the Ukraine. Then there's a treaty, and this is transforming into a vassal of Russia. So this is 1654 is pretty much where Ukraine becomes a vassal of Russia. Marshall Ford said, amazing how Washington suddenly cares about borders when it's undocumented Russians entering a strategically irrelevant country. We're going to get into it. Then there's a treaty of eternal peace between Russia and Poland. It ends 37 years war with the Ottoman Empire and what is now Ukraine and partitions of the Hetmanate. There's a pretty good documentary on Netflix on the Ottoman Empire. Talks about this just covers one small part of the Ottoman Empire when they take over Constantinople. So 1709, Mazeppa uprising attempts to free the eastern from. So there's an uprising against Russian rule. 1764, Russia abolishes that state, and there's a full annexation of the territory in 1781. And then we go into Russian rule. It says most of Western, this is where it gets interesting, most of Western Ukraine is absorbed into the Russian Empire through partitions of Poland. 1783, Russia takes over southern Ukraine through the annexation of the Crimean Khanate. 19th century, it says national cultural reawakening sees the development of Ukrainian literature. So Ukrainian literature, education, historical research, Habsburg runs. Russia bans the use of Ukrainian language in its own territory. So it's basically saying you have to be culturally Russian, right? That's really what they want. So the rise of the Soviet power, Central Rada Council set up in Kiev following the collapse of the Russian Empire. So here it says 1918, Ukraine declares independence. Numerous rival governments vie for control of some or all of Ukraine during the ensuing civil war. 1921, Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic established when Russian Red Army conquers 2/3 of Ukraine. Western third becomes part of Poland. 1920s, the Soviet government encourages Ukrainian language and culture within strict political bounds. All of this process is reversed in the 1930s. So basically, the Soviet is basically saying, hey, you can have your culture, but, your politics have to be within the boundaries of what we say they are. 1932, millions die in a man-made famine. Now, this is very important to Ukraine's history. This is Stalin's Holodomor. I want to say it like the Germans do. It's not Holodomor, it's Holodomor, something like that. And millions of people are just starved to death under Stalin, communist. This is what communism does. It starves people, it kills people. 1939, Western Ukraine is annexed by the Soviet Union under the terms of the Nazi Soviet Pact. We're going to talk about the Nazis in a few, which is very interesting with the modern history of relations between the Jewish state and Ukraine. It's just very all confusing, but we'll get into that. I'm trying to do this as fast as possible. We got a long presentation today, so much to cover. Ukraine suffers a terrible wartime devastation as Nazis occupied the country until 1944. Then it says more than 5 million Ukrainians die fighting in Nazi Germany. Most of Ukraine's 1.5 million Jews are killed by the Nazis. We're all familiar with that. Stalin deports 200,000 Crimean Tatars to Siberia and Central Asia following false accusations of collaboration with Nazi Germany. Khrushchev transferred Crimean. There's armed resistance to Soviet rule. Covert operations. All right, so here, 1991, Ukraine declares independence again following attempted coup of Moscow. 1990 is about 250,000 Tatars return to Crimea following the collapse of the Soviet Union. New democratic constitution adopted. New currency introduced. Chernobyl happens in 2000. No, Chernobyl was shut down in 2000. 14 years after Chernobyl. There's some election in 2002, May. Government announces decision to launch formal bid to join NATO. Now, this is where things get interesting right here. So if you're taking notes, this is the first thing you have to write down. because NATO is a huge part of this conversation when we're talking about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. This is really about Russia's fear of Western influence in their backyard, right? As you'll see later, hopefully I've covered it well in my notes. It's basically a broken treaty. So government announces decision to launch formal bid to join NATO. So Ukraine is like, hey, we want to join NATO, right? And you'll see later America teases and said, yeah, sure, we'll do that. But they really have no intentions on doing that. Anyway, so some elections. Socialist Party abandons Orange Revolution allies, form coalition and with some communists. Some more election. All right, so in 2010, Parliament votes to abandon NATO membership aspirations. So again, 2002, they wanted to. In 2010, these hopes and dreams of joining NATO die. They really never had any hope, as we already covered. Then there's this Maidan revolution. If you're writing down notes, this is a completely separate topic that you should probably research on your own. Tens of thousands of protesters take to the streets to protest the government's sudden decision to abandon plans to sign an association agreement with the EU, blaming Russian pressure. So question is, how real is this Maidan revolution, and who's backing it? We're not going to get into that conspiracy theory rabbit hole today, but I plan on probably getting into it one day, maybe, potentially. Anyway, security forces killed 77 protesters in Kiev. And you'll find out why I'm reading all this stuff to you in just a moment. 2014 March, Russia forces annex of Crimea, prompting biggest East-West showdown since Cold War. U.S. and European Union impose ever harsher sanctions on Russia. 2014 April, pro-Russian armed groups seize parts of Ukraine along the border. Government launches military operation in response. Poroshenko wins the presidential election on pro-West platform. 2014, pro-Russian forces shoot down a Malaysian airliner. I'm sure many of you remember that. Over eastern Ukraine conflict zone, killing all 298 people on board. 2014 September, again, NATO confirms Russian troops and heavy military equipment entering eastern Ukraine. How would they know that without having people on the ground? And we'll talk about NATO in just a few. Okay. Germany and France. Economies dying in 2016. Okay, so 2017, Ukraine's association agreement with the European Union is ratified by all signatories and comes into force on September 1. So here's some more Western influence and ties being made. Russian President Putin officially opens bridge linking southern Russia to Crimea, an action Ukraine calls illegal. Patriarch of Constantinople agrees to allow Ukraine to set up its own Orthodox church, independent of Russia ecclesiastical supervision. Zelensky takes office. All right, so that's enough of that. Why did I show that to you, right? Why did I just read through all of this? Well, for one simple reason. Conflict in that region is not new. It is very old, ancient even. So to think that NATO and U.S. intervention is somehow going to bring peace to a region which has been conflicted for several centuries would be naive and asinine. Right there, you're spidey senses, your Hotep senses should be tingling and going, well, why the hell is Biden getting involved? And we're going to talk about Trump and Biden and Obama and Ukraine and Russia and Putin and all of that in my notes. And I don't have my notes in order because I wanted to get this to you by 2:30. So we're just going to go in order that they're in my notepad and then go from there. So, I'll go to my book source first. And then I probably shouldn't. Let me see. All right. I'll just do the book source first, and then we'll fill in the blanks later with the rest of the notes. I think that's the best way to do this. So let me go here, and I'll pull this up on your screen in just a moment. All right. So always give credit where credit is due. Stephen F. Cohen, War with Russia, from Putin to Ukraine to Trump and Russiagate. This is one of my sources. And let me just go ahead and find my first highlight here, and then we'll go through all of this. So I'll read this paragraph. So it says, dire problems at home have compelled all of these leaders to undertake the intense negotiations, problems ranging from Europe and Syria to Russia's economic woes, as well as their own political standing at home. In this context, the U.S. media political narrative is wrong about what Putin wants in Ukraine. So here he says, U.S. media, Mr. Cohen says, U.S. media narrative is wrong about what Putin wants in Ukraine. And we just read that Fox News article, which I didn't agree with, but I know nothing. So let's just continue reading. Not a permanently destabilized country. Right, so this is what they want you to believe, as is incessantly reported, but a peaceful neighbor that does not threaten Russia's vital economic security interest or permanently divide millions of intermarried Russian-Ukrainian families. All right, so this is what the media wants you to believe. These negotiations face many obstacles, in particular powerful opposition in Russia, in Washington, and NATO. But the secret diplomacy represents a possible turning point, a fork in the road, one that will test the qualities of leaders involved and could shape historical reputations, first and foremost those of President Obama and Putin. Okay, so we put that on your desk. Let's go to the next page. So here it says in the chapter Trump versus triumphalism, he says, whatever else one may think about Donald Trump as a presidential candidate, his foreign policy views expressed, however, elliptically, in a Washington Post interview this week should be welcome. They challenged the bipartisan neocon liberal interventionist principles and practices that have guided Washington policy making since the 1990s with disastrous results. Now, one thing you got to understand is when the neocons and liberals agree, you should probably be alarmed. I mean, you would think like, hey, you know, we want the two sides to get along, right? That's what you know usually makes sense. But when they do in our epoch, it's usually alarming. Chat, we good? Everybody in the chat good? Good. All right, cool. Hold on one second. Let me just go to my profile and bump this broadcast. And I know some of you have shared this out with friends and family, so let me retweet you right now. Thank you, Renee Vogel. Who is this? Keep It Crypto, thank you. Guy Wilson Mendez, thank you. Hannah Made It, thank you. Victor, appreciate you. I don't want to flood the timeline, so I'm not going to retweet all of these. Freak Mac, I see you. Cassius Cam, I see you. Thank you. Bill of Freedom, thank you. You guys, wonderful for sharing that out. All right, let's get back to the presentation. So it says here that policy making has involved the premise that the United States is the sole, indispensable superpower with the right to intervene wherever it so decides by military means and political regime changes. In the process, Washington has used select NATO members, coalitions of the willing, as its own United Nations and rule maker. In recent years, from Iraq and Libya, we all know the disaster that was Libya, to Ukraine and Syria, the results have been international instability, wars, unilateral, proxy, and civil, growing terrorism, failed nation building, and mounting refugee crises, and a new Cold War with Russia. So we're not unfamiliar with these things, right? It says here, Trump seems to propose instead diplomacy toward forming partnerships, including with Russia, rethinking NATO's mission. So I think we should just stop right there and show you this article, right? Because Trump said one thing and then something else happened. Let's put this on your screen. Oops. So right here it says Trump admin approves new sale of anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. This was October 1st, 2019. The Trump administration first approved the sale of javelins to Ukraine in 2017. The Trump administration has approved $39 billion sale of defensive lethal weapons to Ukraine, according to 2 U.S. officials and other sources familiar with the plan. U.S. arms sales in Ukraine have become embroiled in controversy over President Trump's dealings with Ukraine after the White House ordered nearly $400 million in military assistance to Ukraine to be withheld, and Ukraine's new president raised arms sales with Trump on a controversial July 25 call. Now, why did I bring that up? Why did I just do that? Okay, so Obama armed Ukraine, Trump armed Ukraine, and we're going to cover later, Biden armed Ukraine, right? So you would think like, hey, these guys disagree and everything like that. Trump said one thing, but another thing happened. So it's like, who's really in charge here? We're going to get into that. Not yet, but we're going to get into that. Who's really in charge here? That's the question we have to ask, because it seems like all the presidents follow the same script, right? So who's really the one calling the shots? Because it sure as hell ain't Trump. It sure as hell ain't Obama. And it sure as hell ain't Biden. Somebody else is calling the shots. The powers that be. So it says, has Washington gone rogue? This chapter. It says, what is the meaning of the recent escalation of Washington's anti-Russia behavior? Consider only its growing NATO military buildup on Russia's western borders, refusal to cooperate with Moscow against the Islamic State in Syria. Now, we know the debacle of Syria. We're not going to get into that. And the Obama administration's unwillingness to compel the U.S.-backed government in Kiev to implement a negotiated settlement of Ukrainian civil war. Is an undeclared U.S. war against Russia already underway? Given that many U.S. allies are unhappy with these developments, has Washington gone rogue? And does the recent spate of U.S. warfare information reflect this reality? Undoubtedly, there is some alarming evidence. NATO's exercises on Russia's borders on land, sea, and in the air are becoming permanent. So that's the first thing I want you to understand, is that, they want to act like Putin is this like real bad guy. And I'm not saying he's the greatest guy ever, but you got NATO running exercises in your backyard. You're not just going to let that just go. You're going to mount some sort of defense, right? So they like to act like the West likes to act like they're not doing anything wrong, and it's just all Putin, and it's just like, nah, y'all kind of like agitating them, right? Let's go to the next piece. Like I said, I just want to run through this, put stuff on your desk, and then you could go do the research for yourself. I just give you the springboard in which to start your research, because obviously I can't cover all of this in one broadcast. We'd be here forever. With fighting having escalated between the U.S.-backed, see right here, it says U.S.-backed Kiev government and Russia-backed rebels in Donbass, we must focus yet again on Ukraine's pivotal role in the new Cold War since 2013-2014. Here again, we have seen elsewhere widely disseminated false narratives obscure what really happened. The orthodox U.S. account that Russia President Putin alone is responsible for the new Cold War hangs largely on his alleged unprovoked aggression against Ukraine in 2014 and ever since. So basically what he's saying is that, there was some, Putin was being aggressive, but he was not provoked. And in parentheses here, he says, not parentheses. Oh, yes, parentheses. The narrative is sustained in part by the near total absence of American mainstream reporting of what actually happened in Kiev-controlled and rebel-controlled territories. In fact, Putin's actions, both in Donbass, where an indigenous rebellion broke out against the overthrow of the legally elected president in Kiev 3 years ago, and in Crimea, which had been part of Russia for more than 200 years, about as long as the United States has existed, was a direct reaction to the long-standing campaign by Washington and Brussels to bring Ukraine into NATO's sphere of influence. Right here, bring Ukraine into NATO's sphere of influence. So it's not really about Ukraine being a part of NATO. It's more about using Ukraine so NATO has some influence in the region. I'll read the next paragraph. That itself was a form of political aggression against the centuries of intimate relations between large segments of Ukrainian society and Russia, including family ties. Yes. So if Crimea had been a part of Russia for as long as America has been in existence, what business is it of us to meddle in that region, right? Obviously, we have some interests, or somebody has interest in the region. At the very least, it was reckless and immoral for Washington and the European Union to impose upon Kiev a choice between Russia and the West, thereby fostering, if not precipitating, civil war. So they're saying he's accusing them of precipitating civil war right here. Mr. Cohen is. And to flatly reject Putin's counterproposal for a three-way Ukrainian, Russian, EU economic relationship, right? So here it shows Putin was trying to negotiate some sort of economic détente. In this regard, Washington and the EU bear considerable responsibility for the 10,000 who have died in the ensuing Ukrainian civil and proxy war. They have yet to assume any responsibility at all. Okay. Chat, we good? And then last one from this source, and then we're going to go to the next few sources, which are quite damning, I would say. So it says here, what chapter is this? Okay, so it says in the chapter of Ukraine Revisited, the Orthodox U.S. account that Russian President, I'm sorry, no, I just read this. Even if Trump and Putin adopt a wise joint policy toward Ukraine, neither leader has much political capital to spare at home. Let's stop right there and explain that. He says neither leader has much political capital to spare home. So obviously, the Russian people aren't too happy about, working with Ukraine, because Ukraine is obviously the West, and the West is the West. And the leftist media, painted Trump as, well, first of all, they said the elections was rigged by Russia, and Trump was a Russian asset. So for, Trump to have any success in Russian negotiations, I mean, he had no support at home. There was no domestic support. So if Biden inherited this thing, I mean, it was nothing Trump could have done, because everybody just assumed there was a problem. Jabari said, I can't send super chats. What? Well, we know why that is. Try refreshing, bro. Try to refresh. YouTube be hating. Somebody else, please try to send a super chat and tell me if it's working or not. All right, let's go back and finish reading that. It says Trump is opposed by virtually across the political spectrum, opposition to any kind of agreements with Russia, not the least regarding Ukraine, right? And Putin can never be seen at home as selling out Russia's brethren anywhere in southeast Ukraine. Whether the two leaders have wisdom and determination to end Ukraine's tragic and utterly pointless war, which has left the country nearly in ruins, remains to be seen. Right. So cool. All right. So we're done with that source. And one more time for people who didn't know what that source is Stephen Cohen, War with Russia. Go get a copy now. Let's go to our next source. And do I want to go in order? Oh, let's go to this source. I actually did not have a chance to highlight this, but it's all like, oh, all right, super chats are working. All right, cool. Darren Gario said, Don DeMarco, test. Thank you. Daniel Zantara, $5. It works. Thank you. Words. I didn't do that on purpose. Jabari said. He said words are censored, which is why it wasn't sent. Okay. Marshall Forward, wasn't working for me either till I refreshed. See, they're playing games. Please refresh. Cash App is $ Hotep Jesus. And I did get some Cash Apps the other day. Renee Vogel sent me a Cash App. Nikita King sent me a Cash App. Thank you for paying tuition. I appreciate y'all for supporting this channel. As you know, 99% of this goes back into reinvesting in the platform and Hotep Nation. And taking care of my family. So it's greatly appreciated. Let's go to the next source. And again, like I said, I didn't have a chance to highlight this source, but this source is so rich, I don't have to. So this is by Ted Snyder. This is published January 6, 2002. We'll go into some of my other sources in a moment, but damn, he did a good job. So it says 6 things the media won't tell you about Ukraine. It says, first, the NATO promise. Now, remember what I told you before. I told you that they want to pretend. Where's the Fox article? Right. So it says right here. Remember, can you guys see this? Okay, good. It says, for months now, Vladimir Putin has massed Russian military forces on the Ukrainian border. Last month, on December 17th, the Kremlin unveiled 2 draft agreements that essentially acted as ultimatums for NATO and the Biden administration. The demands, for the United States and NATO to guarantee that NATO would not expand further east. You see why I highlighted that? We're going to get into why I highlighted that. Now let's go back, and it says the NATO promise right here. Let's highlight this. It says Putin's demands are only bold if it is bold to ask NATO to keep its promises. Let me read that one more time. Putin's demands are only bold if it is bold to ask NATO to keep its promises. His demands are only impossible if it is impossible for NATO to keep its promises. And this guy does a great job documenting this stuff right here. So it says, February 9, 1990, Secretary of State James Baker assured Gorbachev that if NATO got Germany a huge concession, NATO would not expand 1 inch east of Germany. The next day, West German Foreign Minister Hans-Dietrich Genscher made the same promise to his Soviet counterpart, Edward Shevardnadze. Earlier on January 31st, 1990, Genscher had already publicly declared in a major speech that there would not be an expansion of NATO territory to the east. In other words, closer to the borders of the Soviet Union. Recently declassified documents. And this is NSA. He links to NSA archive.gw.edu. Let me pop this link in the description box. So in case you guys want to read this, I think it's very important to have this. Let me put this here. I want you guys to have this, and I want this guy to get all his credit for doing this great work and making me look like a genius today. So he says, recently declassified documents make it clear that all Western powers, including not only the U.S. and Germany, but also UK and France, repeatedly made Russia the same promise. Okay? Everybody see that, right? It says 7 years later, when the U.S. had already broken that promise, Clinton made Russia a second promise. Now, I have to go back. I'm sorry. But here, FoxNews.com, in the opinion piece. So I don't know if we can blame Fox News, but we can definitely blame Michael R. Pompeo, who seems to be a war hawk to me. Just speculating here, but he says the demands for the United States and NATO to guarantee that NATO would not expand further east. These are not demands, Mr. Pompeo. Let's go back. He says, Clinton made Russia a second promise, having expanding NATO far east of Germany. At least they would not permanently station substantial combat forces. And what are we talking about today? Biden and sending forces to Ukraine. That was the promise the U.S. signed in the NATO-Russia Founding Act on Mutual Relations. This is linked to NATO.int. This is a NATO-Russia Founding Act on Mutual Relations. So there's a promise that's signed by these nations and by NATO. It says they're not going to expand. It was a reiteration of the earlier February 1990 promise that not only NATO membership, but NATO troops would not extend east. So, far from being bold or asking the ridiculous, what the media would not tell you is that Putin is not asking for any Western concessions. He is asking only that the West honor the commitments it has already made. This is why we have to be very careful, people. You know, you think the left and the right, you know, are at odds, but when it comes to when the left and the right are at odds, it's pure distraction. And when they're in cahoots together, that's when you really have to pay attention. Okay, so the name of this article is 6 Things the Media Won't Tell You About the Ukraine. And let me just do a couple of highlights just in case I ever have to come back to this page. So I want to highlight this, and I hope you're taking notes. NATO-Russia Founding Act, declassified documents from the NSA. And he is only asking, let's put it right here. Let's highlight that. Boom. Let's continue. Now it says the coup. And I haven't read. Now here on, I have not read yet. So we're going to discover this along with you. The catalyst for the crisis today in Ukraine was the 2014 coup. That coup was set up and supported by the U.S. Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych. Was faced with the choice of economic alliance with the European Union or with Russia. Polls at that time clearly showed that Ukrainians were nearly evenly split on which economic alliance to choose. Yanukovych. Somebody give me a breakdown on how to say this, please. Okay. Shout out to Natasha K leading in the chat. Appreciate you. And how come you wasn't at the meeting on Saturday? Yanukovych's choice of either package would have divided the country. Putin offered Yanukovych a way out. Both Russia and the EU could help Ukraine, and Yanukovych doesn't have to be forced to choose. The US and EU rejected Putin's peace offering. According to Stephen Cohen, we just read Stephen Cohen. We just read his book, right? We just cited his book, and it's interesting that he just brought up Stephen Cohen, right? Like I said, I hadn't read this far, so the fact that I'm seeing his name again, I'm like, oh, that's the dude we just cited. Okay, it says Professor Emeritus of Russian Studies at Princeton. So this guy has to know what he's talking about, obviously. It was the European Union, backed by Washington, that said in November to the democratically elected president of a profoundly divided country, Ukraine, you must choose between Europe and Russia. The European, backed by Washington, said you have to choose between Europe and Russia when Putin was like, nah, you ain't got to choose. Yanukovych. Thank you. Yanukovych. Jabari says Yanukovych, and somebody else says Yanukovych. Jabari's black, so I'm not going to go with his. I'm going to go with the people that are Caucasian. Yanukovych. Thank you. We're going with that. Thank you, Jabari, for the attempt. But Jabari might be right too. You never know, because he's a super intelligent guy. And I just crack jokes all the time. Yanukovych. Okay. Anyway. So it says the stage was now set for strife in Ukraine. So, real fast. Is the Western world wanting a destabilized Ukraine? Let's continue. It says the stage was now set for strife in Ukraine, and the U.S. stoked that strife, led by Senator John McCain. And Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs Victoria Nuland, and the U.S. publicly endorsed and supported the coup protesters. I'm just reading this for the first time. This is crazy. The White House then provided cover and legitimacy to the violent protesters in the street. Didn't I speculate earlier that I knew the protesters was backed? I just knew. My Hotep senses just know how all this shit works. This is crazy. Through the National Endowment for Democracy, the U.S. also funded projects that helped fuel the coup. Wow. More sinister than that, even, the U.S. was deeply involved in the plotting of the coup itself. Oh, really? Nuland was caught plotting who the Americans want to be the winner of the regime change. She could be heard on an intercepted call telling the American ambassador in Kiev, Jeffrey Piat, that Arseny, how you say this again? No, that's not Yanukovych. This is Yatsenyuk is America's choice to replace Yanukovych. And he did. Wow. I'm going to repeat that again. So this woman, Nuland, was caught on an intercepted call saying that Yatsenyuk is going to should be the one to replace Yanukovych, and he did. Most importantly, Piat refers to the West needing to midwife this thing, a metaphorical admission of America's role in leading the coup. At one point, Nuland even seems to say that then Vice President himself would be willing to do the midwifery. Oh my God. Yo. Oh my God. Jabari said, my wife's family is from Kiev, Ukraine. That's probably why I can't send super chats. Yo, refresh, man. What the hell? I need your super chat because you always send the good stuff. Yatsenyuk. Thank you guys so much. Wow. Nuland had predicted this. Biden was a vice president, and she said he'd be willing to do the midwifery. And what are we talking about today? Biden doing the midwifery. Let's continue. It said Nuland then pressured security forces to stop guarding government buildings and allow the coup protesters in. The opposition then took advantage of the absence of military police from the South and East because of a pre-scheduled Congress of regional politicians and of intimidation that forced many others to flee to ensure that its numbers to take over parliament in a coup disguised as democracy. Aren't they talking about people pulling out of Ukraine right now? I could have sworn I read that earlier. Let's continue. So instead of a Russian puppet president betraying his people and abandoning an economic alliance with the European Union in favor of an economic alliance with Russia, what the media will not tell you is that the catalyst of the current crisis was a U.S. engineered and supported coup of a democratically elected president. Whoa, this is mind-blowing. Oh, my God. Wow. Okay. So the next section here, Pence Senator said, I'm on fire with the info. I just try to bring the best info to the internet, man, because, it's just hard to find these days. The connection is the next section here. It says the media will also not tell you about the crucial connection between the NATO promise not to expand east and the coup in Ukraine. The economic alliance with the EU was not the benign package presented to the Western public. It was not just an economic offer. According to Professor Emeritus of Russian Studies at Princeton, Stephen Cohen, who we mentioned earlier, the European Union proposal also included security policy provisions that would apparently subordinate Ukraine to NATO. The provisions compelled Ukraine to adhere to Europe's military and security policies. Wow. So the proposal was not a benign economic agreement. It was a security threat to Russia in economic sheep's clothing. Little Sis Green Tree 199. Thank you. I appreciate you, man. That's beautiful. Professor of Russian and European politics at the University of Kent, Richard Sakwa, says EU enlargement paves the way to NATO membership and points out that since 1989, remember, I got more sources. I still got more sources to cover. Oh my God. Every new member of the EU has become a member of NATO. Wow. That's interesting. It's not only that the EU package subordinated Ukraine to NATO. Since the EU Treaty of Lisbon went into effect in 2009, all new members of EU are required to align their defense and security policies with NATO. Far from being just an economic agreement, Article 4 of the EU's association agreement with Ukraine says the agreement will promote gradual convergence on foreign and security matters with the aim of Ukraine's ever deeper involvement in the European security area. Article 7 speaks of the convergence of security and defense, and Article 10 says the parties shall explore the potential of military and technological cooperation. So the EU economic alliance was an aggressive package that hid in it NATO's expansion right up to Russia's border. The media won't tell you that either. Whoa! Oh my God. Okay, so what Crimea wants is the next section here. And this source, again, is in the description box for the people that want to read it. And you should read it. And you should go and give the guy who wrote this a hug. His name is Ted Snyder. Okay, so what Crimea wants. He said, what made Russia's annexation of Crimea so threatened to the U.S. was not the annexation itself. In itself, Crimea is not so important to the U.S. What was so threatening was what the annexation meant in terms of Russia's relationship to U.S., and in terms of the changing world and world order. Alexander Lukin, who is head of the Department of International Relations at National Research University Higher School of Economics in Moscow and an authority on Russian politics and international relations, explains that the reason the annexation of Crimea was crucial is that prior to that, since the end of the Cold War, Russia had been considered a subordinate partner of the West. In all disagreements between Russia and the U.S. up to then, Russia had compromised, and the disagreements were resolved rather quickly. The crisis in Ukraine and Russia's reaction to it have fundamentally changed this consensus, Lukin says. Russia refused to play by the rules. Crimea marked the end of the unipopular world of American hegemony. Russia drew the line and asserted itself on a new pole in a multipolar world order. That is why the U.S. is so threatened by Russia's response to the events of 2014 in the U.S. coup. It is a battle over which U.S. hegemony will be fought. The coup in Ukraine led to Russian annexation of Crimea, but that was not an act of aggression. It was a defensive reaction to Western encroachment deep into its sphere of influence and right up to its borders. It was a defensive reaction to the oppression of Russian-speaking people on its borders. NATO expansion had knocked on Russia's doors. In 2014, it came to brotherly Ukraine, as Lukin puts it, a region for which Russia has special feelings and most of whose residents consider themselves Russian. That was Russia's red line and it annexed Crimea, but not as an act of aggression. Rather, the annexation was in response to the aspirations of majority of its residents. Interesting. So the people there want it, is what he's saying. Sakwa says that it is clear that the majority of the Crimean population favored unification with Russia. A majority voted for unification with Russia when the question was put to a referendum. The accuracy of the exact result has been subject of debate, but Sakwa says that even in perfect conditions, a majority in Crimea would have voted for union with Russia. So, far from being an act of Russian aggression in seizing Crimea, what the media will not tell you is that Russia was responding to Western aggression and answering the call of the majority of the people of Crimea. Wow. Reba Wilson's birthday today. Hey, happy birthday. Pensionator, he said, you're very welcome, sir. Thank you. Okay, so we have 2 more sections, and then we'll be done, and then we're going to go on to the next, I think, 3, 4, 5 sources. I don't know. Just some damning shit I got to show you that I dug up today. With the Donbass and Russia won. While the U.S. and Western media exaggerate the threat of an unprovoked Russian invasion of Ukraine, Noam Chomsky has recently said that most serious analysts doubt. What they won't tell you is that Russia wants very badly not to invade Ukraine. That's why they haven't for the past 7 years. Anatol Levin, who is a senior research fellow at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, points out that Russia has not annexed Donetsk and Luhansk, the 2 Ukrainian provinces that make up Donbass, or recognized their independence. He says that annexation is not Russia's preferred option for the future of the Donbass region, and adds, the important reminder, Moscow could have annexed Donbass, as it did Crimea, at any time during the past 7 years, but has refrained from doing so. That's interesting. When the Donbass region of eastern Ukraine tried to follow Crimea's path back to Russia, Putin tried to prevent their referendums. Interesting. Even while he accepted Crimea's. Sakwa reports in Frontline Ukraine that Putin showed little sign of wanting Crimea-style takeover of the region, repeatedly rejecting requests to accept the territory as part of Russia. Wow, so a piece of Ukraine could have been Russia's, and Putin's like, nah, I don't want you, baby. When Donbass did hold elections, though Putin respected the results, he declined to accept them or be bound by them. So he voted on this. In addition to Russia's actions being defensive and not expansionist, there are a number of reasons Putin would be hesitant to invade Ukraine. One is the U.S. promise that it will respond decisively. Another is the difficulty in winning, controlling and holding the Donbass region. But another is that it is strategically more beneficial for Russia not to annex Donbass. Anatol even told me in a personal correspondence that it makes much more sense for Russia to leave the Donbass as part of Ukraine and use it as a lever, first, to block NATO expansion, and secondly, if it can be made an autonomous part of Ukraine, to influence Ukrainian politics from within. As long as the Donbass is part of Ukraine, it can vote against NATO membership. That's pretty interesting strategy. Putin's a smart guy, or at least him or his team is. If Russia annexes it, it loses that vote. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, contrary to your media message, Russia doesn't even want to annex the Donbass. And what do the people of Donbass want? The U.S. maintains that it is helpless to promise that Ukraine won't join NATO. The U.S. maintains that it is helpless to promise that Ukraine won't join NATO because it is up to the people of Ukraine to make that decision. That is ironic because it is not clear that the people of Ukraine want to join NATO, and it is certainly unclear that the people of Donbass do. Contrary to the portrayal in the media of people desperate to escape Russia and to run into the arms of NATO, Vladimir Ishchenko, research associate at the Institute of East European Studies, Freie University at Berlin, reports that Ukrainians are far from unified in support of NATO membership. Okay, so they're split. Ishchenko says that the majority of Ukrainians. Oh, my bad. Let me. I didn't have my Mozart playing. Ishchenko says that the majority of Ukrainians do not favor NATO membership. He reports that support stands at above 40%, but that even that minority number is misleadingly bloated. The number has swelled to 40% by no longer including Ukrainians from the pro-Russian regions of Crimea and Donbass in the surveys. He adds that even where support for alliance with Russia has dropped, it has not migrated to the NATO camp, but to a neutral camp. So the real picture is one the media won't tell you. Russia doesn't want the Donbass, and the Donbass, and possibly even Ukraine, don't want NATO. Here's the last piece here. I'm going to go on to our next few sources. It says hypocrisy. Russians also feel the sting of hypocrisy when it comes to Ukraine and Crimea. They point to Kosovo and Cuba. In 2008, U.S. supported the secession of Kosovo over Russia's objections, and they call Crimea secession a gross violation of international law by Russia. As a result, Lukin says Russia sees the West's position on Crimea as nothing more than a case of extreme hypocrisy. Sacco points out in Frontline Ukraine that Kosovo unilaterally declared independence from Serbia without even having a referendum. Yet, many Western countries, with the U.S. in the lead, had recognized Kosovo's independence despite repeated UN resolutions upholding the territorial integrity of Yugoslavia. Sacco also points out that the U.S. endorsed the infamous advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice that Kosovo's declaration of independence did not violate general international law. Why is what's fair for Kosovo not fair for Ukraine? It's a good question. And about NATO troops and weapons pushing right up to Russia's borders. How would the U.S. respond if Russia placed troops and weapons on America's border? The Monroe Doctrine, write that down, very important to research, tells us clearly how the U.S. would interpret Russian encroachment into the American sphere. And the Cuban Missile Crisis tells us clearly how the U.S. would react to the Russian troops and weapons on America's border. He concludes here, he says the annexation of Crimea was not a Russian act of expansionist aggression or intervention. It was the defense of a red line against U.S. expansionism that broke a foundational U.S. and NATO promise and against an interventionist U.S.-supported coup. Russia has been unwilling to annex the Donbass and responsive to the will of the majority in annexing Crimea. The U.S. is threatened by Russia's activity because Russia has drawn a line and is no longer playing a submissive and cooperative role in the U.S.-led world order. U.S.-led world order. The eastern Ukraine-Russian border is the line over which the battle of U.S. hegemony is being fought, but the Western media won't tell you that. Wow. All right. So now on to my sources. I just, like I said, I discovered that right before I went live because I was just still digging. And I was actually like looking for not specifically that, but something like that. And then that popped up. Now, real quick, I have to tell you the source in which I got that from. And it is none other than Scott Horton. You know, without Scott Horton, today's presentation would not be possible. This guy is great on foreign policy. If you guys are not familiar with his work, I suggest you get familiar with his work. So something that helped me out today was this. Let me make sure you guys can see this. So he had this interview with Max Blumenthal, July 6, 2018. It exists on YouTube. I actually didn't finish listening to it. Instead, I just read the transcript, which was a lot faster than trying to listen to the entire hour. And I'm going to read some excerpts from this interview really fast before I go to my next view. And I'm not sure, because this is a transcript, I'm not sure if Max said this or Scott said this, but basically what was said was the left certainly doesn't understand what happened to Russia in the 90s. How you know the Harvard boys under Larry Summers came through and pillaged Russia and handed over its state assets to a bunch of oligarchs and set the stage for Putin. Another quote from this interview, Pierre Omidyar, the founder of The Intercept, contributes hundreds of thousands of dollars. One reporter, I believe when he said that, I believe he was talking about hold on, let me pull that up. I want to make sure. To this station. So I believe they were talking about some sort of radio station that is sympathetic to the Ukrainian side. Yeah. So you'll see it here on the right hand side. But he says one reporter last week dared to refer to the Azov battalion as neo-Nazis, and now they're facing a lawsuit and death threats. So we're going to get into some of this stuff now. which is really interesting. Let me pull up those sources on your screen. Hold on. Everybody in the chat good? Everybody good? Everybody good? Everybody happy? Everybody getting good information? Cool. Dope. So let's go here. No, let's go. Let's go here. Let's go here first. Just want to make sure I present this information in the correct order. Pop this on your screen. You should see it now. Cool. So, January 20th, 2020. Many of you already know this. It says U.S. to ship weapons to Ukraine following the Baltic request. Okay. I thought I had highlights on this one, but I think it's just so short I didn't need to. I'm looking for right here. So it says U.S. President Joe Biden administration since last year has approved of 650 million weapons to Ukraine and 200 million last month. While Biden administration boasts that the shipments are the most ever by the United States, Ukraine has voiced hope for military supplies as quickly as possible, with shipments from nearby countries especially valuable. Britain has also rushed to support Ukraine, announcing on Monday that it was sending anti-tank weapons. So this is reported by Times of Israel. Let's go to my next source. Let me close some of these sources out. So I'm just got like a lot of stuff going on here. This name's important. We're not going to talk about it though. Right here, NATO sends more ships, fighter jets to Eastern Europe as Russia masses troops on Ukrainian borders. So NATO is also arming. We've talked about NATO and their involvement. So this stuff should just be like clear in your mind as to the agenda happening here. I'm not going to read all of this, but this is the Washington Post. So NATO is sending arms as well. So NATO's got aid. Then there's this interesting article right here. I'll pull up, and we're winding down to the end here now. I'm just shooting you things to look up. And this kind of goes with Andrei Parubi, who apparently at some point, or still is, a neo-Nazi. It says here, in the years leading up to Ukrainian independence in 1991, Parubi was an independent activist and was arrested for organizing an unsanctioned rally in 1989. In 1991, he founded the Social National Party of Ukraine, which is quite similar to the National Socialist Party under Hitler. Together with Ole the party combined radical nationalism and some neo-Nazi features by the name of its Wolfsangel like sign. In 1998 and 2004, Parubi led the paramilitary organization of SNPU, the Patriot of Ukraine. Parubi left these organizations in 2004. I have not gotten a chance to research the connection between Parubi, NATO, and the West, but I'm speculating there could have been potentially some cooperation, even if it was by proxy. So here in this article, it says defend the white race, American extremists being co-opted by Ukraine's far right. So apparently the Ukrainian government could actually be a bunch of neo-Nazis or being influenced by right-wing neo-Nazis. And this article right here talks about that. I'll go ahead and put that in the description box. You guys can read that. I'm not going to read this one to you. I just want to put this stuff across your desk before I dive into this next piece here, which is pretty funny. I don't even know it's funny. It's just, it's funny to me. Let's say that. right here. Let's put this on your screen right now. Here it says, now this was published. When was this published? July 9th, 2018. And it says here, rights groups demand Israel stop arming neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Human rights activists petitioned the court to seize Israeli arms exports to Ukraine since some of these weapons reach neo-Nazi elements in Ukraine's security forces. A group of more than 40 human rights activists had filed a petition with the High Court of Justice demanding cessation of Israeli arms exports to Ukraine. They argue that these weapons serve forces that openly espouse neo-Nazi ideology and cite evidence that the right-wing Azov militia, whose members are part of Ukraine's armed forces and are supported by the country's Ministry of Internal Affairs, is using these weapons. All right, I'm not going to read any more. Let's summarize what's going on here. Oh my God. How could the nation of Jewish people be via proxy arming neo-Nazis, whether knowingly or unknowingly? I don't know. I'm not speculating. I'm just showing you this was published on Haaretz, however you pronounce that, Haaretz.com. Now, why did I bring that up? Well, it reminds me of when we armed Al Qaeda, right? What I think may happen in Ukraine is we send all these arms over there. We arm the Ukrainians. They do the dirty work, destabilize the region, create some sort of balance of power between the Western world and Russia. The region's destabilized. Now you go in and you get to destabilize the region, and now you get to go into go in there and present yourself as the glorious savior. You get to bring your banks in. You get to bail people out with debt, etc., etc. But yeah, that's what I think is probably going to happen with this whole situation. But when we're arming people, do we know who we're arming? Just like when we armed individuals in our war with ISIL and Al Qaeda. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the clip with let's see. Let's see if we can find this clip. I want to find this clip for those who haven't seen it. Here we go. I found it.
Mucho se sabe de la participación de los Estados Unidos en la creación de
We walked away from this, didn't give them money today, it would be worse for us from a security standpoint.
I do. We're building a relationship that just did not exist. I said in our last trip when you were with me that we had a huge trust deficit, in part because the United States had, to be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting.
How?
Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan. And we were successful. The Soviets left Afghanistan, and then we said, great, goodbye, leaving these trained people who were fanatical in Afghanistan and Pakistan, leaving them well armed, creating a mess, frankly, that at the time we didn't really recognize. We were just so happy to see the Soviet Union fall, and we thought, okay, fine, we're okay now. Everything's going to be so much better. Now you look back, the people we're fighting today we were supporting in the fight against the Soviets.
Well, with that being said, I mean, can you speculate what could be coming in the future for our country? Let me check my notes. Yep. Okay. So, what is Ukraine? Ukraine is basically fodder for the Western world's anti-Russia agenda. That's what Ukraine is. Poor Ukraine. As if these people haven't been through enough. Now they're being used again. I'll stay for 5 minutes or so and talk to the chat. We could do an AMA before I close out today's presentation. Thank you for watching, and share this with your friends and family. In the box below, please give me your predictions. Do you think that Ukraine will end up? Tell me in the comments. Do you think the Ukraine will end up like our situation, Libya, Afghanistan, ISIL forces, etc.? HJ, you got to understand, Israel has strategic interests in Ukraine. They helping their cousins. Many of them want to return to their ancient homeland of Khazaria. Yo, what book is that? Alexander Solzhenitsyn? Yeah, I think that's Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Cameron Earlin, he said, fulfilling the book of Revelation, messaging with Gog and Magog, arming the Ukraine. Oh boy. Pensator said, great class today, HJ. Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate you. I love doing this because it just keeps me in the loop of what's going on here. So you guys win, I win, we all win. But most importantly, fake news is destroyed. I think that's what's most important. So we don't get dragged into something that we don't need to, dragged into conversations we don't need to, being misled by. Let's take a look at what people are saying about what's happening in Eastern Europe. I'll bring it up on the screen. We can look at it together. It's probably full of misinformation. Let's take a look. Justin, Biden administration is writing up military orders for units to be sent into Europe. I don't know if that's true. Justin Amar says any effort by the president to enter U.S. troops into hostilities in Eastern Europe without congressional authorization would be unconstitutional, illegal, and undemocratic, depriving Americans the right to be represented regarding whether their loved ones are sent to war. CNN now reporting Biden administration now in final stages of identifying specific military units to send to Eastern Europe to deter Russia. Next steps likely to be prep orders and then deployment orders. Once final decisions, several U.S. officials tell. Ooh, who made this? Uh-oh. I don't even know if I should be showing this. Let's bring that back up. The Ukraine crisis has folks questioning NATO's post-Cold War expansion into Eastern Europe, especially former Soviet republics, namely the Baltic states. So how exactly did the Baltics get into NATO with the red? That looks to be up to 8,500 U.S. troops have been put on heightened alert for possible deployment in Eastern Europe as Russian troops mass on Ukraine's border. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said, whoa. This guy says, I can't eat indoors or go to a bar in my hometown because of New York's discriminatory policies, but I'm supposed to care about an ethnic conflict brewing in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine. They're my sentiments exactly. That's exactly what I thought about when I heard all this stuff going on. I'm like, yo, Brad, we got our own shit to worry about. Wow. Well, my bad. I was supposed to do AMA, and I was looking at what people were saying. Reba Wilson said, we appreciate you for this information. Thank you. Hey, thank you. I appreciate y'all. I mean, it's just amazing to have 290 people here listening to me. I just find that to be quite fascinating. I'm humbled by that. It's a lot of people. Like, imagine if this was like 290 people in one room in the physical world. I mean, it's a lot of people. I mean, Malcolm X at times didn't have crowds that large. So I'm quite fortunate for the internet. Dug It Up says they need an enemy so they can create conflict. Oh boy. Yee. Warmongo's useful nonsense again, says Jay Pilon. Vegas Gambler says, once again, good job, HJ. Thank you. I pride myself in giving out good information. I just, I don't want to have a bad reputation for giving out bad information. I want you guys to be equipped. And like I said, like, I don't purport to be an expert on any of these things, but what I do like to do is put the sources in front of you and the key elements of the stories so you guys can do your research on your own and then come back and educate me on it. You guys can be experts in various different fields, and then educate friends, families, etc. Tonight, we'll be on my second channel, Hotep Chess. Chess lessons start at 8 p.m. Then at 10 o'clock, we'll be recording our private show for Patreon subscribers only. Patreon.com/Hotep's Been Told You. That's Uncle Hotep and I. That's our Patreon exclusive show called Best of the Internet, and we play all the funny videos and crazy videos and just wild stuff going on. So if you guys want to get that, patreon.com/Hotep's Been Told You. We'll be recording that tonight at 10 p.m. So I have a lot of work to do today. Let me look at my to-do list. I got one more thing to do. No, two more things to do on my to-do list, amongst an endless sea of work. So I'll be getting that done after this. What else did I want to tell you guys about? Every Saturday I play speed chess, 2-minute speed chess, which is quite difficult because chess is just really hard, and then playing while you're streaming is just another level of hard. But I did pretty good this weekend. I had a couple of wins. I had a few wins this week, and I did well. That's on the Hotep Chess channel. Oh, Griftees comes out Thursday. Subscribe to the Hotep Nation channel on YouTube to watch that live with us. I believe that'll air at like 7 p.m. and then Hotep's Been Told You will come on after that. So make sure y'all tune in for that. Everybody's been copying off of us, but we are the originals, and we're here, and we're back. Second annual Griftees. Make sure y'all check that out. Say, can you make the... No, we can't make it live because it's behind a paywall. Patreon.com/Hotep's Been Told You. We created the Patreon, and we wanted to give people access to us. So we do like a hangout on Zoom with our Patreon subscribers, and that's a lot of fun. And then we give them an extra show, so we can't do that live. It has to be pre-recorded so our subscribers can watch that. Pensator says, I love chess, but I'm horrible at it. Everybody's horrible at chess, bro. It's like only 1% of the world is actually really good at chess. Probably less. We're all horrible at it. It takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of studying. Jabari Allen paid his tuition. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. He said, will your homeschool provide legal support? That's a good question. I don't know. I can't answer that right now. We do plan on providing a lot of support to the homeschooling community. We've only raised like maybe $2,000 or so we can't provide much legal support right now. But you know, we plan on supporting the community as best we can, and a lot of that is contingent upon how much we raise. I mean, we raise $1 million, we can blow out that program and do all types of crazy things. So it depends on how much we raise. Yeah, the grifty is going to be fire. Oh, you catch it on Tuesdays? Dope. Yeah. Said, did you see the white ladies hitting the black homie in the elevator for not wearing a mask and screaming Black Lives Matter? No, I did not. Please send me that video. We're going to cover it tonight on our Patreon show. Please send that. Send that, Cassius. Please. Natasha Kayleen said everything the Hoteps do is fire. Thank you. Appreciate you. He said, Faith Thomas said, what do you think about girls who are gamers, like video games instead of makeup? I prefer my women to wear makeup and not play video games. Doing both would be better or preferred, maybe. But, you know, girls who play video games, I kind of don't want to share my PS with my girlfriend. No, I want it to myself. And if I want to play Grand Theft Auto, I don't want to go to my PS and she's playing it. I don't know. It could be a turn off. It could be a turn on. I don't know. Let's just say I'm agnostic. What else did I want to tell you guys about? Stock market crashing. I knew it would, though. Everybody knew it was going to crash this year. Well, everybody with a little bit of Hotep in them knew it was going to correct this year. Oh, that's what I wanted to tell you. My book, Dominate Twitter, is on sale. Let's pull that up. I totally forgot. It's on sale today only. So it's originally priced. Damn. It's originally priced at $49 because this is proprietary information and I just really don't want the shit getting out there like that. So it's got a really high price, but today only. Today only. It is sorry, I'm logged in. Today only. It is $19. $19. It's about 7 hours left. Let's go to briansharp.co/Twitter and get your copy. It's only $19 right now. It's a crazy steal. A bunch of people have already purchased it already. Shout out to people who have taken advantage of this. But if you want to start a business, you want to learn how to become a marketer, I'm gonna tell you how crazy this book is. Like, this book has been like really scary for me because it was like a brain dump for me. I was dumping like everything I knew about marketing and branding into a single document, right? So it says Dominate Twitter, but I just used Twitter as the platform to kind of explain how to use these things. But the book is like all on marketing and branding. And I think one thing that people always say is, you know, like some people say, are you born an entrepreneur or can you become an entrepreneur? What people who have read it who weren't entrepreneurs previously have said that, and kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur, they said like it turns something on in your brain. Really what I do is I just kind of like unlock why entrepreneurs are successful and the things that they do, because I make it easy. I make starting a business easy because I just give you all the secrets. It's just, here's how it's done. This is how people have done it in the past. And I've read a bunch of marketing books. I've studied marketing my entire life, and there's nothing out there that exists like this. I've basically eaten everything I've known about marketing and then regurgitated and given you digested food already. So like when you read it, you just were able to go running to the races with it. And that's what was scary, because I put this out and I'm like, it kind of fell into the wrong hands because people I didn't want to have this now have this information, and they've done some wild things with it. and grown super large followings. Like basically like all the grifters have gotten this book. I know because I can see the purchases and the names, and I'm just like, wow, okay, you read my book and you read my book and you read my book. And I'm like, oh my God. And people have really exploded with popularity. People have, like Coach Joe Hart, he's made over $1 million in 24 months because he's grown a following using my methods. But he's cool peoples. But, just seeing, and then of course there's like the people who like buy your stuff and then purport that, like, all right, so I'll give you like 2 examples. Like one dude bought my book and then he made a course about Twitter marketing, like right after he bought my book. I saw it. I saw him buy my book and then I saw him go and put out Twitter courses. He put out like 5 Twitter courses after he bought my book. And when I watch him tweet, he tweets like exactly how my book tells you to tweet. And then there's this one girl who via proxy, a friend of a friend asked for a copy of the book. So I gave her a copy of the book. And then like the next week she was teaching marketing. Like the very next week she was teaching marketing. I had people come to me and say, yo, I got a social media job because of this book. I got a new marketing job because of this book. I got a job with a political party with this book. Because really, like, you could definitely read this book and then like go be like a marketing assistant director or something like that. They probably shouldn't trust you being a director without real experience, but you could probably land the position because the book just breaks down like how to just be great at marketing. But yeah, so it's on sale, $19 today. I've run sale on this book every once in a while. So today's going to be a 1-day sale. You guys can go cop that. Really awesome piece of work. That's my avant-garde work. Yeah, a lot of people haven't given me credit, but it's fine. Jordan Peterson's on Joe Rogan today? Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I think I'm going to finish my to-do list, and then I'm gonna read this book here. We don't want to hoard information or hide information from people. We want to give information to people. So I'm working my way through this book. This much of the way through. Like LeBron levels. Fundamental Checkmates. I'm on page 92 of this 300-page book. Slowly working through it. I'm probably going to sit down and read it. Study that. It's basically the first book you need to read if you want to learn chess. The book link, the mods have posted the book link in the chat. It's briansharp.co, or just go to hotepjesus.com. You'll see it right there. All of my books are on hotepjesus.com. It'll redirect to briansharp.co, briansharp.co/Twitter. It's called Dominate Twitter. Don't get the one on Amazon. There's a physical version on Amazon, but it's outdated. I've updated the Dominate Twitter digital version, so get the digital version. If you want to get the physical version, fine. Like, it's still going to like give you like mad secrets, but the Dominate Twitter is the updated version. I'm also going to co-author a new book on business with Nabil Aziz, so look out for that. And I'm going to update Dominate Twitter again. So if you buy it now, you're going to get an updated version because it hasn't been updated in like maybe a year or so. So when you get you're going to get the updated version for free if you buy today. And the updated version is just going to be like, I'm going to put some more spice and clean up some of the things that are in there now. And because I'm just better. So, make a couple of ideas clearer if there are any, because I haven't looked at the book since the last update. But if you get the digital version, you always get the updates. I am Hotep Jesus. Thank you. Love y'all. Hotep and Bill.